Welcome my people to the Laju Pog TV show. Today we are diving into another explosive story as Dele Farotimi takes President Tinubu to tax over the current economic situation. But before we get into that, if you are just turning in for the first time, do us a huge favor, share this video on all your social media platforms and don't forget to click on that notification bell so you always be in loop when we drop new content. We'll be right back after a short break.
Welcome back to Laju TV show.
The whole of crime scene
is happening in the street again.
The center of political news, celebrity gossip, religious gossip, and happiness in the society.
Join us, the voice of Africa.
President Tinubu has, without a doubt, seriously compromised the trust of the Nigerian people with his disastrous handling of the economy. From day one, his approach has been riddled with political jingoism, negligence, and astonishing lack of empathy for the everyday Nigerian. The citizens who had once placed their hope in his leadership are now grappling with an economy that is teetering on the edge, thanks to what many are calling Tinubu gross mismanagement. For months, Nigerians have been subjected to relentless hardship with rising inflation, skyrocketing fuel prices, and overall decline in living standard, and yet the government response has been lukewarm at best. It wasn't until the situation reached a boiling point, manifesting in widespread protest and civil unrest, that President Tinubu finally decided to introduce some measures aimed at cushioning the effect of these challenges. But the question on everyone's lips is, why did it take so long? Why did it take the voice of millions of suffering Nigerians crying out in the street for the government to act? The situation became even more embarrassing when just yesterday news broke that one of Nigeria's representatives in the ongoing Olympics was not provided with a bicycle for a critical competition. Yes, you heard that right. A national representative standing on the world stage wasn't given the basic tools needed to compete. This isn't just a logistic failure, it's a national disgrace. How can we as a nation hold our heads high when our leaders are more comfortable purchasing luxury jets, fleets of cars, and other lavish items, while our athletes and representatives are left to fend for themselves without the necessary support? This incident has only fueled the outrage, and it didn't take long for social commentator and activist Dele Farotimi to weigh in. In a clip that has been making the rounds, Farotimi delivered a blistering critique of Tinubu's administration, particularly focusing on his economic policy or lack thereof. Farotimi left no stone unturned as he dissected the ongoing economic collapse, touching on the incompetency, corruption, and outright disregard for the welfare of the Nigerian people. His words were not just critical, they were a mirror reflecting the sentiment of millions of Nigeria who feel betrayed by a government that promised change but has only delivered more of the same old disappointment. Farotimi didn't just stop at criticizing the economic situation. He dived into the broader implications of Tinubu's policy. He highlighted how the government actions or inaction have eroded the very fabric of our society, leaving people delusionized and frustrated. The promises of a better Nigeria seems more distant than ever, and the gap between the government and the people continues to widen. As Farotimi put in, this isn't just about economic policy, it's about the future of the nation. It's about whether Nigeria can survive under a leadership that appears disconnected from the realities on the ground. His analysis has sparked intense discussion across the country, with many calling for more accountability and transparency from the Tinubu administration. Anyway, let's watch this video. We'll be right back.
The way you've captured the whole country, rendered all of us as slaves, divided us along religious and ethnic lines so that you continued your stealings, is done. What are you going to promise them again? Muslim ticket? You've given them. What are you going to promise them? Yoruba presidency? You've given them already. In fact, Sunday Igboho has shown us the lie of Yoruba nation. So there are so many reasons to be thankful to President Bola Ahmed TINUBU. Oh, there are many reasons to be thankful to him. Because of him, everything has become open, plain, and clear. The fraud of Yoruba nation, as propounded by the likes of Sunday Igboho, has become obvious. It's become pretty obvious. The lies of the competence of the master planner, it's become obvious. the inability of North and South to collaborate in any effort for change is been proven a lie. Hubris. Hubris. The overreach of the system has resulted in the hubris that we're witnessing today. The overreach of the system has battered where we are. For there to be peace, I repeat, men and women of goodwill would have to speak to the street. Let me do my own part, even as I bring today's sermon to a close. Nigeria is not a democracy. You are not citizens. Our country is ruled by impunity and not by law. However, for you to remain human, justice must prevail in your space. It is the absence of justice, in this case, economic justice, that has driven people onto the street. It is your right to protest. The silence of the lamb victimizes it. If the lamb would cry even as the dog barks, men would think twice about slaughtering it. The silence of the lamb victimizes it. Do not be silent. This venal class have no problem whatsoever with turning all of us to slaves if we will keep quiet. The churches, the mosques, the traditional rulers, they are all complicit. Your right to protest is guaranteed even by the fraudulent constitution by which they have enslaved us. But please, I beg you in the name of the Almighty, however you worship Him, please, I beg you, refrain from an embrace of violence. Articulate your demands. Be unyielding in standing behind them. But please, I beg you, avoid violence. The system profits when you embrace violence, and the system prefers that you embrace violence, because in your embrace of violence, your struggle is delegitimized and you are silenced. Or shall I say, the causes, all rooted in the same thing. Even the silence of Ndibo and their attempt at staying above the fray is in itself a reaction. Let them not say we did it. Let's stay out of it. Let it not be said we are the reason. Let it not be said we started it. So Ndibo has kept quiet. Cause and effect. The northern streets are boiling. Cause and effect. But if I speak about cause and effect, you must understand that there are intended causes and then there are unintended causes. There are intended outcomes and then there are unintended consequences. They are easily foreseeable and desirable consequences, not necessarily desirable to the victim, but desirable to those who initiated the cause. And then there are unintended and undesirable consequences, all of which was never envisaged or expected by those who initiated the cause. Let us attempt to break this down one by one. Exactly what may be said to be the cause? What exactly may we say to be the cause? What I have done is to list a litany, outline a litany of what has led us to where we are today. A man comes into office. Even if we took the INEC figures as a given, even if we assume that Mahmoud Yakubu is not a crook, I'm using those words deliberately. Even if we assume that Mahmoud Yakubu is saintly and he had acted in good faith and released the original result, and if we accept that what has been given is the real result, it still shows that a larger percentile of the country did not vote for the person who is sat in Aso Rock today. That is the reality. I am a Democrat, even though I live in an undemocratic environment. Even though I know that the man did not win the election, let me presume to him that he has won. And it is on the basis of this presumption that one might be able to engage. Let us presume that this man won. It does not change the fact that he's sitting there on the basis of the mandate of a narrow minority. This doesn't change that reality. Since he became the president, how has he sought to govern for all? Let me remind us. The president's first executive action was to announce the removal of the fuel subsidy. Argument for or against that, we can leave to the academics. But we know today, thanks to the quarrel or squabble with Dangote, we know as a fact who is receiving our subsidy money. The subsidy that was publicly cancelled was privately resumed. And it was privately resumed is up in the air. Everybody is drinking Malta now. That's in one area. The multiplier effect of that singular pronouncement has meant that costs have literally gone through the roof. Food inflation is about 300% or more in most cases. Some things have become completely unavailable. A bag of rice, 85,000 or 90 in some cases. The man's salary, 70,000. That is what the government has recommended and signed into law. A lot of states are unable to pay that. A lot of private employers are incapable of making that payment. There is a bleak reality out there for a whole lot of people. Begging is on another scale. People who would never ever beg anybody have been turned into beggars over the last 1 year. The quality of life has become horrible for everybody. In the midst of that, the security situation in the northern part of Nigeria has degenerated completely. When we in the south hear of banditry, what we think of most of the time, because that is our own encounter with banditry, we think of when you're traveling on the highway and you might get kidnapped, or if you're living in Abuja and they walk into your home and kidnap you wholesale. So it's either you're on the road to get kidnapped or you live around Kaduna or Abuja. That is the impression of the average southerner. But the reality is that the northerner, for him, banditry means he's unable to go to his farm. He's unable to stay in his village. The rural area has been despoilated. Banditry means there is illegal mining going on in which the police, the DSS, the military, the government officials, emirs are complicit. But because of their complicity, it's completely abandoned and the Nigerian press is not reporting what is going on. So for him in the north, you've got complete disruption of his way of life. Now here is the thing. The Nigerian press, complicit in the mess, compromised almost beyond redemption, do not report these truths. So the north is left alone. So when we're talking insecurity, we rarely ever speak to the pains of the North because we are rarely ever properly informed about the pains of the North. So here is what has now happened. Because of the unprecedented amount of hunger, the level of multidimensional poverty that has been layered on top of the existing structured poverty of the Northern Earth, what you have today is that for the first time in 37 years, let me repeat myself. Did I get that right? The last time the North was involved and was part of a national movement for change was in 1986, 1987, during the SAP riots in the Babangida years. In the immediate aftermath of the SAP riot, the government took a deliberate decision to divide Nigerians along ethnic and religious lines. In the North, Islam was weaponized on campuses to ensure that northern campuses were unable to respond to national calls for strikes. In the South, fraternities were militarized so that we were unable to speak with one voice in most cases. When issues came up that should unite us, we begin to speak in divisive tones, and Nigerians were steadily and deliberately divided. Trade unions were infiltrated. Nigerian Labour Congress, the Nigerian Medical Association, Nigerian Bar, every influential trade organization, every collective that used to speak with solidarity, ASU, all of them infiltrated and factionalized just to ensure that they were unable to speak with one voice. So the North has never, since 1987, been part of a national movement for change. All that has ever happened is that the people in the North, the common men, were weaponized and used to maintain the status quo. So every time there was a national movement for change called out in the southern part of Nigeria, where the pains of the victimization of the system are largely felt, what tended to happen was that the South will be speaking in one way, the North will be speaking in another way, structured to be like that, systemized and maintained since 1987. In recent times, I've had occasion to speak, and I have said, I think about 4 or 5 years ago, that until the North is ready for change, Nigeria will not change. The North is ready for change now, but the leaders of the North, are they ready for change? This is a call out. This is a call out because when you leave a people devoid of purpose, what you find is the chaos and anarchy that we have witnessed on northern streets in recent days. I would explain. Once upon a time, it was the politicians who harmed and maintained the mobs and directed them to purposes. And then there were traditional levers of powers that also could mobilize these mobs on the street. And then there are the madrasas, the sheikhs and imams. Today, cause and effect. All these levers were largely pressed into service in ensuring the emergence of Bola Ahmed TINUBU as president of Nigeria, in fulfillment of the many lies that have been told to the people that religion will somehow evaporate our problems, in forgetting completely that God has left the governance of this earth to the sons and daughters of men. It is up to us to fix our country. Saudi Arabia is not less Islamic than Nigeria. Look at Saudi Arabia today under bin Salman. Look at Dubai. They're Muslim countries. Look at Qatar. Those are Muslim countries, but it hasn't stopped them from progressing. Every country develops on the back of hegemonies. What has the hegemony that produced Bola Ahmed TINUBU done for Nigeria. You've destroyed Nigeria. That's essentially what has been done. That hegemony has members from across the length and breadth of Nigeria. I'm not suggesting that it's a northern thing alone, but the northern prerogative is real. We cannot pretend that it is not there. It is there. But what has it done? What you're seeing on your streets, your inability to speak to your people, is because you are the ones who have sustained the lies to the point where you are at today, and it's almost impossible for you to now tell them the truth of what will bring back peace to the north. But I'll suggest a few to you, if you will allow me to. Peace can only be guaranteed by justice. Justice can only be guaranteed by equity. Equity can only be guaranteed by love. Each and every one of us must embrace this doctrine and understand very clearly that if we sow storms, we will reap exactly whatever it is that we have sown. All right, so now we have a president. In the midst of crippling, grinding, biting inflation, the president and the National Assembly voted 21 billion to renovate, hear me, renovate the vice president's house. 70 billion naira was voted to the National Assembly members to buy SUVs, as 160 million naira for each one for senators and House of Reps members. 4 billion naira was voted to renovate Dodam Barrack. Another 3 billion for Aguda House. 5 billion was given to the Presidential Task Force, a Tax Reform Committee, less than 20 members. 1.5 billion was given to purchase cars for the First Lady, an office unknown to our Constitution. Judges, for job well done, got 300% salary increase. I'm not complaining, no. I'm not saying judges should starve. 5 billion was budget for presidential fleet. At least one repo, they will buy fuel now, have you? Every senator gets 21 million naira monthly. No, don't worry. I didn't forget the reps. 13.5. This government voted it. We are going to be spending 15 trillions to pave the road with gold from Lagos to Calabar. And your president's friend is the one building the road, Uncle Chagori. Yeah. Unlike when they used to go to Mina, if they wanted to speak with the occupiers of Aso Rock, these days they go to Uncle Chagori in France so that he can speak with his friend, the same one who gave him the road. And yet, we are told to calm down. We are told to calm down. Where is the money taken from the subsidy? If you say there is no more subsidy, but then we now know that there is subsidy. When you take all of this together, and you then factor in the multidimensional sufferings of the victims of the system that would allow all of these, you can then begin to have an inkling, an understanding of the anger that you are seeing on the streets. Hopelessness births chaos. Hopelessness births chaos. Give the people hope. It's not about letting the poor breathe, because they certainly aren't breathing. You've choked them. But give them hope. Not illusion, hope. Hope, real hope, substantive hope. Give them hope. Let them have a basis to believe that tomorrow will be better than today. Show by your own example that you still believe that we should be tightening our belt. Tighten yours as an example. Let them see it. But then you are incapable of doing any of that. But like I said, cause and effect. But here is the issue. For those of us who have no other country to flee to, And I say that full-chested. I do not have the residency of any other country aside from Nigeria. I might have visas to travel back and forth, but I do not own a home outside Nigeria. I actually do not even have a foreign account that is operative as we speak today. I opened one, I think, in 2010 in Houston, but I have not operated it since 2010. I think I have maybe less than $100 in the account. I'm sure they would even have closed it by now. That's the only reason I can't claim that I don't have a foreign account. I'm all in. This is my country. I'm not running anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm not interested in seeing it burn. But if Nigeria is not going to burn because there is cause and effect, the impunity by which our ruiners have operated, the horrible way that they have responded to the pains and sufferings of the people before they went on the street, sent traditional rulers with marching orders to be telling people they mustn't protest. They're protesting because they have no choice. Send thugs, Asari, that fat monkey, send that one to be threatening people. In Lagos, one that they call Sego is the one that is busy threatening them that they mustn't protest. The Nigerian Christian church, then the Nigerian church, oh, shame on you all. Oh yeah, sorry, there are one or two exceptions. It would be unfair to Pastor Sam Aidogbo, for instance, to count him amongst that number. Shame on you all. There are exceptions, but shame on you all. You can't speak to demand justice before this mess broke out, and you have no credibility to sue for peace. You have no credibility because you are part and parcel of the mess. And that goes for you, the Muslim clerics as well, and even more shame on the traditional religionists. We can't even find one of you who will come out and speak against the abomination to which your spirituality, quote and unquote, has been pressed. Then the police came out, issuing threats left and right. Mustn't come out, and it's a democracy, quote and unquote. These are not the responses that brings peace. These responses brings no peace. Where are the elders? How come there is nobody who can sue for peace? No credibility. Because those who should sue for peace have become part and parcel of the problems. And look at our traditional institutions. Shame on you all. Barring, which one of you have actually spoken out in a manner that will give you respect amongst the people? That they will be able to understand that you are touched by the pains of their afflictions, and on the basis of the relativity of that, they might listen to you whilst you speak to those who have caused this problem. But then you are all part of the problems. So traditional rulers can't speak to the people. Politicians, we don't even have any of those. But the ruiners have become so discredited that none of you can actually make appeals. And the president, Yaya Olundu, speak, is not saying anything. The only thing that is issuing forth from government, threats. The army busy threatening people. Who is paying who? If we're in a dictatorship, you guys should just say so once and for all. Let us know that our country is gone. If it's a dictatorship, let's know whether it's a military dictatorship or that of Bulaba. There is no point in lying to us that we're in a democracy. You are living like pashas, living as though money is not an object. Burning money up and down the place, living like royalties, like Arabs, like Arab royalties. Meanwhile, the people are living in poverty. You have like 20 million children strolling on the street, and you don't expect them to loot when you force them to the street. That was always a tragedy foretold now. Like 20 million of them. You don't even have an accurate census of how many of your children under 15. United Nations last estimate was 16 million of our children under 14 years old. Because when they say somebody is outside school, out of school children, they're talking about people in that age bracket. They are slapping the street. If I don't know what the ones up north are doing, I know what the ones around Jack Onde and Co. are doing. Every time there is any sort of demonstration or protest, they get violent because it's an opportunity for them to steal. It's an opportunity for them to do what the government and everybody else is doing, steal. So they grab it. When you now factor in the unemployable, untrained, it is the children you refuse to train that will sell the houses that you have built. You talk about them removing rail track, condemn, and condemn. It's because you fail to train them. They don't own that. They don't believe in the ownership of that thing as being. They don't believe in the common ownership of any commonwealth because they know there is no commonwealth. You steal everything. So, for them, the protest is an opportunity to get some for themselves. The same way you, the government, is getting it for yourself every day. So they do not believe themselves to be doing anything wrong. They have merely taken their cues from you. And that is what you're seeing. It is the beginning of the end. The system is telling you that it is unsustainable. And it is demanding of you that people of goodwill should step up and speak. If you're speaking to the mob has leadership. If you can speak to the mob, then you can speak to the oppressors of the mob, the government, to find a solution to the mess into which we are all being dragged. I have never believed that our situation can be resolved by protests because we do not have listeners in government. They are deaf and dumb. But the protests are started. I have no single word of condemnation for those who have decided that their only recourse is to protest. They tried doing it with their votes. Their votes didn't count. Okay, so elections are over. Who is not feeling the pain now? All of us are feeling the pain. All. Bulaba, Batidiots, articulated, obedience, revolution. Everybody is feeling the pain. We all go to the same market. Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Fulani. Everybody is feeling the pain. So you've managed to unite the people with hunger. The genie is out of the bottle. Remember, I told you, this is the first time in 37 years that the North has been part of a national demand for change. You know that revolution I always told you was coming is upon you. You thought you quelled it in 2020. You didn't. You can't kill it. The fact that you killed so many people in 2020 actually guarantees that it will not die. You've shown the people how far you are prepared to go in order to thwart their demand for change. 4 years later, we're back here again because the human spirit instinctively rebels against inequity.
Let's dive even deeper into this mess because what's happening right now is beyond outrageous. Tinubu's disastrous handling of the economy is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a whole network of corruption and reckless spending that's choking this country. And it's not just Tinubu. We've got Wike, Shetima and the 36 state government all playing the same game, treating Nigerians' wealth like it's their own personal fortune. Let's talk about Wike and Shetima first. These two have turned government spending into an act from, and not in a good way. Wike, for instance, is out there throwing billions into renovating government buildings and setting offices that serve no real purpose. Do we really need more flashy government offices when people can barely afford to live? Absolutely. It's all about making themselves look good, creating monument to their own egos while the country crumbles around them. Shetima isn't any better. He's right there with Wike, spending and enjoying themselves. And what's it all for? More government offices, more renovations, more pointless projects that do nothing for the average Nigerian. They are more concerned with building their legacy than they are with actually helping the people. Meanwhile, Nigerians are struggling to get by, and these so-called leaders are living up at our expense. Now let's look at the 36 state government. Each one of them is acting like a minor dictator, siphoning off public funds to build their own little kingdom. They are using our money to create irrelevant offices, renovating buildings that don't need it, and fund projects that serve no purpose other than to boost their own power. This is money that should be going to schools, to hospitals, to infrastructure that actually benefit the people, but instead it's being wasted on vanity projects that do nothing but inflate their egos. And what about 50 plus ministers Tinubu got on the payroll? 50 plus, that's an absurd number, especially for a country that's supposedly in the middle of an economic crisis. Why do we need that many ministers? We don't. But each of them comes with a hefty price tag, salaries, luxury cars, perks, galore, and all paid for with our money. This isn't just bad governance, it's a slap on the face to every Nigerian who is working hard to make ends meet. The worst part, Tinubu's not just allowing this, he's encouraging it. This man was supposed to lead us out of this crisis, but instead, he turned the government into a playground for the rich and powerful. He is signing off on all this reckless spending while the rest of the country suffers. It's not just the economic collapse, the blatant disregard for the people who put him in power. Let's be clear, this isn't just about money, it's about power. It's about a small group of elites who have decided that they are more important than the millions of Nigeria they are supposed to serve. It's about a government that has completely lost touch with the reality of life in this country, and unless something changes, unless we hold these people accountable, they are going to keep pushing us further and further into the abyss. I'm furious, and every Nigerian should be too. This is our country and our future, and we cannot let these so-called leaders destroy it. We need to demand change, and we need to demand it now. Tinubu, Wike, and all the rest, they need to understand that we are done with the lies, the waste and corruption. If they don't get it together, their legacy will be one of failure, greed, and the complete betrayal of the Nigerian people. Enough is enough. Thank you so much. Remember to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update as we continue to expose the truth and fight for a better Nigeria. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Please don't forget to like, comment, and share, and stay tuned for our next video.